Now, I know why many of you are here today. Something at the Supreme Court just happened, and you've come here to hear what I'm going to say about it. Actually, what a lot of you are here for right now is you want to hear my outrage. You want to hear me get all upset that gays can now legally marry in all 50 states. Well, you're not going to get that. See, the funny thing is that these types of victories, a victory is only a victory if it's achieved in the proper fashion. There's no victory here. There is no victory here. There isn't even a real ruling here. Two things happen. Well, three things. One, come closer. Come closer to the radio so I can explain this to you, because you've probably never heard this before and you might not really understand it. The arguments over gay marriage have nothing to do with gay marriage. The only thing that has happened now is you've affixed gay marriage to big government. All of these things that you supposedly fought for, all you did was affix them to big government. You see, there are people out there, I'm one of them, that when I hear arguments for gay marriage and somebody says, well, what about Social Security? Yeah, what about it? Why are we forced to pay into it? Well, what about hospital visits? You're right. Why should any hospital assume you want to see your next of kin? Some people hate their families. This is about respect. What respect? If the government wasn't involved in marriage at all, there would be no discrimination. The sad thing is, I mean, it's like, you know, this falls completely on deaf ears of people who are celebrating. And it's sad. It's sad that there's no intellectualism here. There was no introspection here. There was no new argument. The argument that should have been was, why is government even in the marriage business to begin with? Why is the federal government even debating this? And if you're going to say equal protection under the law, you don't believe that. Progressives don't believe in equal protection under the law. Look at the way they view taxation in this country. We talk about equal protection under the law. That's a punchline. It's a punchline. The second thing in here is, you know how people like to run around and say, this is what democracy looks like? This isn't democracy. As a matter of fact, there's been no democracy here whatsoever. So don't tell me about what democracy looks like. And here's the third thing. We have just shredded the Constitution. And if there was a chance that there would be some consistency here, it might not be that big of a deal, because then other things would come flowing in behind, you see. So I'll use the Constitution as it's written. Article 4, Section 4. The citizens of each state shall be entitled to all the privileges and immunities of the citizens in the several states. If you're going to say that a gay marriage license must now cross state lines into states that do not recognize it, then that means all concealed weapons licenses must do the same. Because you cannot, now I realize there is no consistency here. Progressives believe in equal protection under the law until April 15th. They believe in it in 364 days of the year. They believe in it when it's convenient. But if you're going to say a marriage license must now cross state lines, if one state recognizes gay marriage, then all states must recognize those licenses. Then the city of New York or the city of San Francisco, the city of Chicago can no longer tell people they cannot carry concealed weapons if they have a license from another state, because all privileges and immunities must now cross state lines. Again, the Constitution is now a meaningless document. The Supreme Court did not stand on the Constitution here. This has nothing to do with the Constitution. First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. This is going to run roughshod over religious freedoms. We've been over this with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Religious freedom is, in fact, in the Bill of Rights. It is not subject to negotiation or question. There is nothing in Article 3 of the United States Constitution that gives 9 unelected people the power to reinterpret the document that created the bench they sit on. What also died And I know a lot of, I know states' rights is a dirty word. I know the progressives think that states' rights is an overrated experience, but hold on a second. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The word marriage doesn't appear in the Constitution. Therefore, it is not in the purview of the federal government. Therefore, it is in the purview of the states. The Supreme Court under Article 3 cannot change that dynamic no matter how hard they try. Well, you say, Andrew, they just did. Well, yeah. They also upheld slavery, segregation, and internment. The Supreme Court does lots of things that it's not supposed to do because we've created this false notion that judicial opinion is supposed to trump the powers of the court in the Constitution. You have a president who is scolding the court left and right as they're lining up to give him his decisions. And what's even funnier about watching Barack Obama smug for the cameras this morning, he only found his courage on this issue a few years ago when it was convenient. And Hillary's out there with the statements. You're forgetting that DOMA was a Clinton-era policy, which was unconstitutional. Whether it's defense of marriage or marriage equality, this is not for the federal government. See, that's consistency. Even though conservatives like the concept of defense of marriage, it's still not for the federal government, one way or the other. But when you have no principles, when you have no consistency, when you are moored to nothing, you just want what you want when you want it, like a 3-year-old. It's kind of hard to be a principled man in an unprincipled world. And that's where we are right now. And oh, I get it. Absolute Vodka is going to put out rainbow bottles and the drinks are going to flow tonight and people are going to be dancing in the streets. But we've just given way to even more judicial tyranny. And I know you don't care because you got your shiny thing. You got your shiny thing. But when you look at things like Wickard v. Filburn, Roe v. Wade, now this, you're starting to see the evolution. The evolution of tyrannical power being vested in unelected people. And if you think tyranny for good is good, there's a very fine line when tyranny for good turns for tyranny for bad. Because when there's no backstop to power, power has a funny way of, what is the old saying? Power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you've just allowed unelected people to make a cultural shift in the absence of democracy and the Constitution. Good for you. Good for you. I can't wait because there's going to be a backlash to this. See, now every little activist is going to take a piece of paper with this ruling on it and fan out. And they're going to go waving it in the face of churches, synagogues. They'll sissy out when it comes to mosques, and that's the problem. I want to see the same prosecution of Islam alongside Christianity. It's always been about Christian bakeries, Christian bakeries, Christian bakeries. I can't wait. Yeah, you don't have the guts. Here's the problem with some of you gay rights people. And I'll say, Michelangelo Signorelli might join us on the program later. I'm going to look him right in the face and say, I don't think gay rights activists have the courage to take this fight to a mosque. I don't think so. He will be sitting right here in this studio, which we share, and I will look him right in the face, and I'm going to say, I don't think gay rights activists have the courage to take this fight to a mosque. Let's see you do that. We're right. They're wrong. That's the end of the story. The arguments on this radio program cannot be broken. SiriusXM Patriot.